I got a phone call from a retired sheriff sergeant who used to work child abuse back in 1995 about this case, David Allen Funston. He helped investigate it. He was angry because he read he was being released. I had no idea about it, read the LA Times article, saw what they had spoken, and got the wheels rolling. So yesterday, they printed out probably thousands of pages of arrest reports on Mr. Funston and the cases he did. And take us back to 1995. He was out preying on children in the Sacramento area. We're talking children as young as 3 to the age of 7, molesting them. One young girl in North Highlands kidnapped her, molested her very viciously, drove her to Placerville, and kicked her out of the car after punching her. Think about that. He was caught eventually through the hard work of the sheriff's office, did a great job investigating it. Thousands of pages of interviews of children, and one thing about these kids, they were resilient. They did an amazing job IDing him. And back then, as a parent or anyone around kids, hey, don't take candy from strangers. Don't follow anyone. Don't get in someone's car. This is what he did. Lured them with candy, Barbie dolls, toys, and abused these kids horrifically. Horrifically. He was given 3 consecutive terms, 20-year terms. He should have been in prison the rest of his life. Unfortunately, in 2020, a bill was passed that made folks eligible for parole as early as 50 years of age once they serve 20 years. So he qualifies. He's 64 years old. I'm 62. That is dead wrong. These children, he ruined their lives. And now he's eligible. And the damage he's done, he stole their childhoods. And my issue is the parole board. I read the reports. They're horrific. You've seen some of the things he did. There's no explanation. You can't explain it away. There are some folks that deserve a second chance in life. Someone that does these type of things, they don't deserve a second chance in life. What are we coming to as a society here in California? That it's okay with this, to let him out. You think about some of the offenders that do the child abuse cases, child molest cases. Typically, they're older males. Now we're seeing a lot of folks in their 20s and 30s. So under the law, and we have folks in their 20s that have pending cases right now, they can be up by the time they're 50, having done 20 years. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Someone has to speak up about it, and we've got to change this. So he lured these kids, kidnapped the kids, kidnapped 2 sisters. He was convicted of 16 counts of kidnapping, child molestation, with multiple young children. Remember, the youngest victim 3 years of age. Sentenced over 20 years in prison, as well as 3 additional consecutive sentences. Consecutive, not concurrent, as they follow each other. A judge in Sacramento described him, and I'll say this, as the monster parents fear most. Yet today, the parole board decided he is suitable for release. We can't have this. It's got to change. And in California, it's battle after battle when it comes to our children. A few years ago, we're fighting human trafficking of a child. That wasn't a violent felony. Had to fight to get it passed. They got it passed. Now we're dealing with mental health aversion. You can kill your 1-year-old infant and get your record expunged and go work with other kids. What in the hell is going on in California? 100%. What is happening in our state? This cannot happen. It's not okay. The parole board, I keep going back to that, making those decisions. Does anyone have an idea how many folks like David Funston have been released? Can somebody tell you that in California? Right now, no. Especially folks convicted of child molestation. You don't rehabilitate individuals like that. They have an appetite for that. They want to do that. And that's troubling. Right now, our Child Abuse Bureau last year had over 1,200 cases. 1,200 cases here in Sacramento County involving individuals for child abuse, child molestation. It's hard to fathom that. And for some of you folks, you read some documents earlier that kind of shed a light on what he did. Because you could talk about it all day, but till you read it and see the victim's words, it really hits home. It really hits home. I've been doing this job for 33 years now, 34 years. I've served in the legislature. And it is mind-boggling that folks that purport to want to protect women and children and put their interests first don't do a damn thing. There's a brand new children's caucus that was just formed. Looking out for children's rights. Where are you on mental health diversion? It's okay to beat your kid to death and get off on it? Where were some of these other individuals on human trafficking of a child? Is it okay to traffic a child that's 12 years old? The things he did to these kids cannot be undone, ever. It is not okay. Who stands up and supports that? We are so far out of our zone for the rights of the perpetrator and not victims' rights. It hasn't been about the victims for a long time. It's got to change. Victims come first, especially children. You don't get a second chance with children at all. And I'm pissed. It is not okay. It is not okay. Why are we dealing with this? It's a common sense thing. 99% of the voters support him being locked up forever. Lock him up, throw away the key. But in California, they want to let him out, and they let others out like him. That's the scary part. How many folks are running around? So he did it the old-fashioned way, candy, toys, get in my car, kidnapping them. With the internet now, and the ICAC operations we do, you've seen it, where folks are on the phone enticing kids as young as 12 or 13 to come meet them at hotels. It's happened. They show up to have sex with young underage children. It goes on every day. We catch a small percentage of those offenders. So this is real stuff. It really hits home. If you have kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews, it should concern you. Elections are coming up. This is a great question. What do you stand for? Don't talk the talk, walk the walk. Protect our children. Don't protect the perpetrators of these crimes. Why are we protecting them? They should all be locked up, period. So we've got to change it. It just can't happen anymore. And like I said, hold people accountable, but we're always fighting again and again and again. You know, compassionate release. Where's compassion for the victims? There is zero compassion for the victims. They don't give a damn about the victims. They care about the suspects doing these horrific things. 3 years old. Has a 3-year-old testify and tell us what happens in that case? The 4-year-old, 7-year-old girl talking about it. 7 girls, 1 boy. You know what? They were amazing. They told great stories about what happened in detail. Described the doll he gave them, the candy, the car, what the bed in his apartment looked like, the sheets on his bed. Those kids were amazing, that young, to be able to reconcile what happened and remember the details. It breaks my heart to read these reports. We've got to stand up and fight for our kids. This is not okay. Next up is Detective, or actually Sergeant, retired Detective Rafael Rodriguez.
Good morning. I was asked to be here by the sheriff. I was a detective at that time when Funston had kidnapped the girl out of North Highlands. To put it in perspective, the same urgency that you see in the Nancy Guthrie case, the same urgency on everybody's face, that's how we felt that day. Now, yesterday I'm reading the news in bed, and I see Mr. Funston is about to be released. I was outraged. Right away, me and Sheriff Cooper have been friends for a long time. I called him and I told him we can't allow this. This is wrong. I was not the lead detective on the case. He has passed approximately 2 years ago. Was there when he was arrested, and I was present, and I interviewed his estranged wife. But the whole Bureau at that time was involved, and the whole Bureau, I'm sure like me, has never forgotten Funston's name. Whenever I would hear a case of an attempt kidnap anywhere in the state or country in the news, guess what? Funston's name's popped right back in my head. And I'll be honest with you, I was hoping he had perished in prison a long time ago. I was surprised that he was still alive. And when I read that, I was so angry that I cannot believe in this state we would allow that to happen. This isn't a possession case. We're not possessing drugs. We're not doing things like that. This is a serious case. Like the sheriff mentioned, the victims here, they got a life sentence, okay? A life sentence. Funston's out. Wherever he's going to be released to, better watch him. I was just outraged. I had to call the boss and explain it. He asked me to come down, and I wanted you guys to know firsthand, for someone who'd been there, the urgency, the worry, everything. You know, even personally after that, watching my kids. I have grandkids now. Paranoid. You know, telling my daughter, keep an eye on them. Watch them there, watch them there. That's how we live. That's how I live. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Undersheriff Mike Ziegler. Let me put a little perspective on Mr. Funston, his sentence. I'll use a judge's word, though. I won't use his name, this monster. He was sentenced to almost or a little over 90 years. He's done less than a third of that, and he's going to be on the streets. 9 victims under the age of 7, and he does under 30 years, and now he's going to be on the streets in a neighborhood near you. That's horrific. Some of the stats that we have with our department alone, we have 1,200 child abuse cases. Here's the stats with the elderly. Here's how that can affect the elderly parole law. 60% of those active child abuse cases, the suspects are under 40 years old, with a third of them under 30 years old. 1/3 of our current child abuse suspects will be eligible for parole as soon as they turn 50. And they're not this monster, but some of them are. As soon as they turn 50, 1/3 of them will be eligible for parole, and 28% of them will be eligible parole after they turn 50, between 50 and 60. That's the problem with the law. That's what we're facing in law enforcement. So we talk about second chances a lot, right? And our department, the sheriff, believes in second chances for people. There are certain crimes that can't be rehabilitated, and this is absolutely one of them. This was a discussion that we had at the legislature for 8 years. This is a crime that we see, that Ralph saw, that our child abuse detectives see on a daily basis. These monsters cannot be rehabilitated. That's gonna upset a lot of people, but they cannot be rehabilitated. I'll give you an example of one here that happened in Sacramento years ago. Kenneth Parnell. He was a 41-year-old man. I'll leave the victim's name out of it, although you probably know it. They actually made a movie about this. He kidnapped this young man, kept him in captivity, in a cage, for 8 years. And during that time, he molested him, kept him in a cage, and during that time, he also kidnapped another, about 7 years later, he kidnapped another kid. And they were brave enough to put together a plan and escape. Never caught Kenneth Parnell at that point. Years later, remember, he kidnapped somebody when he was 41, held him in captivity, another one when he was 49, 71 years old, dying of diabetes, emphysema. He paid a lady to bring a 4-year-old over to his house so he can molest that 4-year-old at 71 years old. These are the monsters right here that we're dealing with. And it's because of the laws in California that we're dealing with this. Thanks.
Now we'll go ahead and bring up Amelia.
Okay. Hello, my name is Amelia. I am a victim of David Allen Funston. The reason I am here today is to speak on the behalf of myself and the other victims of this monster who may not be able to speak. I feel he is a very horrible person who has done horrific acts, and he does not deserve freedom. Why I say this is this man has took innocence from myself and others. He has done shameful things under the eyes of God, and I feel his years in prison he has done is not enough. I stood in front of this man in court as a child in elementary, and I will stand again. to have him put down where he needs to be. He does not deserve freedom. He needs to be back. He does not need to be back in public society. He is a criminal, child molester, dangerous, and deserves to spend the rest of his life behind bars. As a young Native American woman, I am proud to say that the Creator kept me here to keep fighting for what is right. So yes, I feel strongly that that man, David Allen Funston, needs to see out his punishment and does not deserve his freedom. And that's how I feel. You're welcome.
She was 3 years old when that happened. 3 years old. My grandson's 3.5. That is not okay. We've got to change it. It has to change. It is not okay, but it's a battle every damn year, battling these stupid laws that come on the books. There's a law, actually a bill this year, to change it, to turn it back to 60 for sex offenders. Got killed in the probes. They're killing bills over and over and over again. And like I said, having spent 8 years in the legislature and being back in law enforcement now, they're impacting us. It is not okay with what's being done, period. And it's either on one page or the other. Either you're for victims or you're for the perpetrators. There's no in between. There's no in between, period. So we've got to get priorities right. It's got to change. It's got to change. Right now it's election season, so make sure your vote counts. Any questions?
What can community members do at this time to show that they're against him being released? Can they write letters to that board that you speak of? Can they, how can they be supportive of this?
The Board of Prison Terms, unelected officials. These are just citizens that are making this decision. They're not elected. They don't represent anybody. And like I said, when you go back and you read all of these reports, you're like, what the hell is going on here? He's an evil man. How are we letting him go? I've read all these. This is mind-boggling. I mean, we shouldn't even be having this discussion. We should not be here. The victim should not be here. But, my hat off to Amelia for having the courage back then as a 3-year-old to help put this animal in prison. And here again, once again. That's traumatic. But it's important. If someone doesn't speak up, this stuff continues to go on and on and on again. And if it pisses people off at the legislature or makes people feel uncomfortable at the Capitol, I don't care. That's your job. Defend these children. Quit talking. Talk is cheap.
He's free now.
Pardon?
If he's free now, what are the conditions of that release? And is there the possibility that he comes back to Sacramento County?
He could. He very well could. We have no idea. They hold things so close and so tight. That's the issue with it. And it's done. I'll let Mike talk about it.
Yeah, actually, when they release a sexual violent predator back into the community, the standard is sending them back into the community of domicile. That means the likelihood of him coming back to Sacramento is very high.
So was that upheld, that decision to grant him parole was made in September of last year, and then it was upheld last Wednesday? Is that
Correct.
And then it goes through the SVP process where there will be public hearings and all of that. Will that happen here?
It's the state. Who knows?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So in the sexual violent predator program, there's an advocate group, a victims' right advocate group right now that just wrote a letter to the Board of Prison Hearings, having to request that hearing. Sexually, they weren't going to give him one. So they're demanding that he stand before a psychiatrist to see if he's fit to be released. So who knows if that happens, right?
So what I would do if I were you, I would get a hold of the parole board and ask them how many folks have been granted the early release and how many were sexual predators or had a conviction for sexual assaults. Do they know that? Can they tell you that? It shouldn't be hidden. It should be open. They always talk about transparency. Make it transparent. Tell us who you're releasing, what they're doing. And you figure once you're on, you're off after 3 years of parole. And you're dismissed. They don't follow you or track you. So that's the way the system works. I know the system very well, how it works. So it's a lot of it is just smoke and mirrors of some of the things they do. Any other questions? All right, thank you all. I appreciate you coming. Amelia, thank you so much for having the courage to stand up and come here and testify. I know it's hard, but hopefully we get some things changed. And hopefully what you read earlier, you'll take it back with you, and just when you write that story or record that story, you feel our passion and you feel Amelia's passion. This is a righteous issue, period. And whoever wants to stand and talk about it and say, no, they're full of BS. This is a righteous issue. Let's fix it right now. Thank you.